Productive Disruption is a podcast presented by Rhodes Branding, spotlighting bold and innovative ideas that have the ability to reshape K-12 education. If you're looking for actionable ideas about how to operate and innovate your school, you've come to the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of Productive Disruption. I'm your host, Molly McGowan-Gorsuch, and I'm the Executive Director of Client Strategy at Rhodes Branding. On this episode, we are so excited to be talking about how our very own team got to play a role in the hands-on learning and student mentorship that really makes career technical education so powerful. Through our partnership with the Association for Career and Technical Education, our creative team worked with students in San Antonio, Texas, on a video project for the ACTE's Coalition for Workforce Development at their annual summit event. To paint the full picture of this successful collaboration, we're talking with Laura Scott from ACTE, CTE students Emma and Victoria, and high school CTE audio video instructor Camille Donnelly, as well as our own Rhodes Branding creative director Michael Ho. Thank you guys for joining me today. So first up, let me introduce you guys to Laura and Camille. Laura is Director of Strategic Partnerships at ACTE, and Camille is the Animation and Audio Video Instructor at Ronald Reagan High School of Northeast Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas. Laura and Camille, could you guys give us a brief overview of the video projects that the students were assigned, covering the 2024 Workforce Development Coalition through the CTE Summit? What was the purpose of the videos? Like, how are they going to be used?
Sure, I can jump in. Thank you so much for having us today, and so thankful to this wonderful team of students and staff who helped to make this happen. So ACTE is a organization that serves career and technical education professionals across the United States. We have around 28,000 members, and one of our initiatives is our Coalition for Workforce Development through CTE. Several years ago, we started to get more and more questions from industry and trade association representatives who knew that CTE existed and wanted to see how having their member companies partner with CTE programs could help to address workforce shortages that they were experiencing and knew would continue to increase in their industries. We have an annual summit, which happens every year at ACTE's Career Tech Vision Conference, where we bring together folks from these trade and industry associations for a day and a half program. And for many years, we have wanted to be able to capture all the good things that are happening at that event, as well as to market and promote our coalition's work in a more professional manner. So over the summer, our advisory council started to talk and wanted to figure out a way to get students to help to do some of that work as a way of practicing what we preach and making work-based learning a reality at our event. And we were very fortunate to get connected with the Northeast Independent School District. And that led us to Camille and her student, Emma, and our other student on the call, Victoria, as well as some others who were able to assist on site. So I will pass it over to Camille for a little more info.
Yeah, so the students had to work together to come up with different shot types. They were given like the shot types template, and they had to do that part on their own. They also were given, or they had to choose different roles for each other. So who's going to do the interviews, who is going to do the B-roll, the photographer, and also a director. After that, they were given the opportunity to film for the event, which is something that probably they don't usually get to do because usually we're filming stuff for school, not out in the real world quite often, besides like when some competitions that we do. So that was really great that they got to go out into the real world, do and film and photograph an actual event that was happening. And they really enjoyed all of that too. And the videos, like you said, where you were asking like what they were going to do with them. So they were basically doing like a recap of the event and trying to showcasing what the event was for. And I think it was also to get more people involved with the event for upcoming years. So that's why they did the interviews and they did the B-roll to kind of show a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. Do either of you have anything to add to that? We can always add in as well.
So in addition to capturing footage from our event, we are hoping to use some of the images and posts to help promote the coalition in general, especially on our website. We have a website that we launched about a year and a half ago, and right now we're using stock images. And we're really excited to be able to use images of actual coalition participants at our event.
That's great. We love that. Of course, it's so much more powerful to see the people who are in it and actually living it to really amplify your message. How did mentorship from a professional in the field like Michael Ho impact this project? And what was the value add that you found for the students?
So I can take that one. So Michael was able to bring equipment. So his camera. He also brought this really big rig that went like maybe some students hadn't seen it. I don't know if I had seen it, maybe just in photos. It goes like over the student's body and then they hold it like this. That's something that probably most schools don't have. And the students were really interested in using that. And then he also he took the not only did he bring it and he used it a little bit, but he took the time to show them how to put it on, how to use the camera, and then how to walk and like focus with it, and how to exactly to use it. So that way the students were able to film the event with the rig. Um, and then he also gave, I don't know if he was the one that wrote like the template for like the shot types and stuff. So there was that too. And then the students were able to communicate with each other like while they were filming, because he brought like the headsets for them to like communicate with each other if they had questions, or to tell each other like, hey, like go film that, or this is happening here, blah blah blah. So that was really great that they got to experience that.
I do have a question for Emma and Victoria. I'm curious to know, how did this experience differ from previous experience you had on video production sets?
So I would say definitely being in like a real world setting and like working with like adults. I'm usually used to working with like student athletes or like other kids my age. So actually working with professionals was super cool. And I got to use a lot of technology equipment that we don't have here at Reagan. And it was just so cool seeing that side of like media production that I haven't seen yet, and to know that like when I actually do get out into the real world and get a job in media production, that's kind of like the equipment I will use and like what I will be doing. That was pretty.
What I found was really cool being there is seeing the way that you can get different angles when trying to tell a story. And so when we were trying to tell the story, is these people are trying to help other people, and it felt good knowing that we are trying to reach an audience. Um, and so that's my kind of view on it, is that, when I go out into the real world, like Emma said, this is the type of stuff that I will be dealing with, and it's cool to learn now what these people are doing. Does that make sense? So it was just really interesting to see the process and the tools to tell that story to share with others.
I know, like, a lot of times on set, you hit a lot of, I guess, sometimes roadblocks, and you're often troubleshooting issues that are happening on the fly. I'm curious to know, was there anything that you discovered or encountered that um, you were able to overcome on set?
So I think so I mainly like take photos for sports photography, and for that it's just like always in motion. So when it's like calm setting and people are just mingling around, you don't like get a lot of cool action shots. So I think that's like I kind of learned that like, oh, I just got to like focus on like the candid things and not like look for something really really cool. I just got to get people talking. I thought that was something like really interesting that I would.
I think for me would be trying to find the emotion in the moment, because these people were communicating, but you didn't know what they were saying. Does that make sense? And so you had to um, kind of get that on camera without a video. And so it was also kind of hard trying to maneuver, because you wanted to stay out of the way and make sure that these people still communicated to each other without feeling like the group was kind of in on their space and taking over. So we kind of had to work with the space that we had. It was just really interesting to kind of figure that out along the way.
One awesome thing I loved seeing was just the joy and passion y'all had for the craft, and really investing in the project. Can y'all speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So when Miss Donnelly first told me about this, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I want to do this so bad. And I went home and I told my mom, and she was like, oh my God, that's literally what you'd want to do when you get out of high school. And I was like, that's literally what I want to do. So I was like, so excited to do something professional. And I think all that excitement kind of showed with the work we did. And I'm sure all four of us felt the exact same way.
So there was one day in class where my photography teacher, Miss Morris, was like, "Hey, the district has something that you might be interested in. Fill out the Google form. We'll see who wants to do it." So I filled it out, and Morris, a few days later, was said, "Hey, you got in." I wasn't really expecting what sort of situation I was going into, but I knew I was going into a professional setting. I'd never really done anything like that before, so it was kind of a learning experience, and I was really excited to see what was gonna happen. I love taking photos, and I love sharing stories, and so I was really excited to see how this experience would turn out. Um, and I was just really excited to be able to do something that isn't student related and that can transform into something completely different.
So having this experience and being able to actually work with a professional team and like you said, it's kind of brand new, but is this something that would spark your interest in pursuing additional apprenticeships and other mentorship opportunities?
So I really would like to major in journalism when I go to college. And I also want to incorporate photography in that. So getting to experience that in person and learning how things work at a really early stage is what I find is important because you can be prepared further down the line. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, like Victoria, I also want to major in journalism or some sort of media. And using that experience was like, I'm a junior in high school, and a lot of students don't get to experience things like that till I feel like they're in like a junior, senior year of college. So it was really nice to know early on, like what I would be experiencing so I can prepare myself more and to know what I have to do and what I have to get shots of and the overall like communication between us. And it was really cool.
Can I add, like, on the teacher side of that? So, I think it's really great for, like, students to get that experience, in high school because, like Emma's just said, like, you not everybody gets to have that experience, and I think it would look really great, like, on their resumes, like, they get to add, like, they did this really cool thing, like, it was, like, a really professional job, and then also, I think it also would help students to know, like, what else can they do with videography or with photography? Like, yeah, you can take pictures of sports, or yeah, you can take wedding photos, but there's a lot that goes into like the process and like the planning, the this, the that. So, like, I think it's good for them to know like there's photography, but there's so many opportunities and different kinds of things that they can do with photography and just getting them out there to like experience different kinds of things so that they know like I can do this. Like it doesn't have to be just sports. Like maybe they're going to like other things better, or, capturing and doing events because that's different too. So just kind of getting them that experience that they can learn that there's so many different things that they can do with this besides photograph students or, besides doing like kids and youth and stuff like that.
Exactly, and I think that's really the power of career and technical education and this hands-on learning, right? Is like you get to see and reaffirm what you like, and it also opens your eyes to maybe things that maybe this is something I thought I wanted to do, but I'm going to pivot now and go in this direction, or perhaps this is a different concentration that I want to take, right? And having that early on really helps you just kind of prepare and make even more efficient, better decisions so you can spend your college and your next steps even more more informed and also honestly more fun, right? So Michael, I don't know if you had any questions about their what you guys did beforehand, because I know that was part of the setup as well, right? You guys covered um not just production day, but you worked on some pre-production as well.
Yeah, we went over the call sheet, shot list, roles, and also gear list for check for the day before leading up to the shoot. Um, I'm curious to know which was the most helpful for each.
I think what was helpful is the shot list because we didn't know what was going on necessarily beforehand. And so to kind of get a grasp of, okay, this is what they're wanting. Okay, maybe we can pivot this way. And we can start looking for ideas on how to incorporate that into the shoot, which I thought was very, very helpful. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I would also have to agree that the shot list was very helpful to know like exactly what we're doing. Like I knew it was an event, but I didn't know what it mainly was. And then I read the shot list. I was like, oh, okay, understand now. But it was, yeah, it was definitely that was the most helpful.
Laura, I think I saw that you had a question you wanted to add.
Yeah, so related to this, from my perspective, it was really helpful to have the professional expertise of the Rhodes team as a part of this. ECT has done something similar at some of our other events where we've brought in students to help capture and document the goings on at those events, but we've never had that professional mentorship piece with the experts in the field. And I think that's really what made this an especially successful collaboration. And it helped me to keep that in it. I think it's going to help me to keep that in mind for future projects to make sure we have that piece of the puzzle so that students aren't just coming in getting the experience of coming to an event, but they're really getting to learn additional things that they wouldn't otherwise from their high school classroom setting.
I do have one last question on my end. How's the edit coming along? I'm curious to know if the hair flips, the group walk out made the edit.
So I had talked with I think Molly maybe about the edit, or maybe it was Laura. I'm not sure. So during Christmas break or before Christmas break, I think was the original deadline. Um, During that time they had a lot of finals, first semester exams and stuff. So then we reconnected January. Um, we also were having problems with like trans or I guess converting the video footage that was shot on the 4K camera. My student tried really hard, like um, getting that footage like to work on his computer. But we had to get with Miss Morris, who does know and has experience like working with that kind of footage. She had to convert everything, and she put it in one long video for the students to edit. And I haven't talked with the other student who was also going to be editing. They did split up like what they were going to edit. So I think one of them was going to do like the main edit, like a recap one, like a longer one, and then I think that one of the other students was gonna do like just like interviews and B-roll, like shorter ones for social media. I haven't talked with that student, but I know my students was really stressed out about college applications this past couple weeks. Then the stress of waiting for admissions to respond. And he got into UT, so he's a little bit less stressed now. He's going to go to the UT film program. So we need to get through this week. We're doing another competition that's due February 6th. And I think Victoria's team might be on the same boat for that. Um, and then after that, for sure, I'll for sure need to reconnect with the kids and see like where they're at. But the main problem was like converting that 4K footage. I've never worked with 4K footage before. And I know Miss Morris had, but I had no idea how to help my student at all. So that was our biggest problem there.
I knew going into this that we may have to be flexible on the deadline, and I think that's one of the things that's important for business and community partners to understand when working with schools and students is that school projects are going to always need to take priority over these other projects unless they're like a paid outside job. So I think that's something for folks to consider as they're thinking about work-based learning is we need to be mindful of the work that students are doing as a part of their CT and general ed curriculum, and that often these things are going to be falling on top of very full plates.
We really appreciate that. Because I know, like, my students, they're like, the juniors and the seniors, that's mostly what we have in our classes for our advanced classes. And they always say, junior year is the hardest one. And that's most of mine are juniors right now. So we really appreciate, like, the flexibility. But of course, we won't take advantage, though. We'll get it. We'll get it.
Do you want to talk us through the process of converting 4K ProRes into proxies?
Oh my goodness. I just use once I load it into Premiere Pro, mine automatically does 4K to proxies, so I don't have to worry about it. And then the red footage is totally different from normal 4K footage, so I have to go there and look through each folder and drag it in just a little bit differently, a little bit more time consuming on the 4K. And then the 4K we shot should be in those folders that you got a while back.
Was there a big difference in terms of resolution or quality comparatively?
Oh well, yeah, the red's way better, but the 4K, yeah, it was good. Yours is way smoother. Yours was at 25 frames per second or 24 frames per second, so yours looked a little bit smoother, and ours just did 30 frames per second.
So I know that was sort of an unexpected challenge, or maybe it's an unforeseen one. But Michael, how would you say that relates to what you see on a pretty regular basis in video production and project management for clients?
Yeah. I would say what y'all went through, it's a very similar process, right? In terms of pre-production, how we prepare for a shoot, reviewing call sheet, checklist, um, putting gear prep, and then the day of arriving. Um, and on set, typically you'll have selected roles for each person. So it was very similar.
And then also troubleshooting some of those tech challenges as well. I know from experience we've had to navigate those, but I think that is part of the learning process, right? I know that we talked about some of the call sheets that were extra helpful, or some things that maybe haven't been done, or that you hadn't done in previous classes. But what would you say would be the most interesting or impactful part of your production day experience?
The most interesting thing is definitely working with this new equipment. Um, at Reagan, we're used to using I wouldn't say that old Canons, but I mean they're not at all like the cameras we used. But so it was really cool seeing Michael's equipment and knowing that that's what media companies use, and that if I get a job at some marketing media company, that's what I'm gonna be using, and to just use it. I really liked using that really cool camera.
I totally agree with Emma. I feel like there is a limit on technology at the district. So seeing that you can use different types of cameras for different scenarios is really cool. Like the rig, we don't have one of those here, and it is so insanely cool to see that technology has progressed so far in the last few years, and being able to handle different situations with different cameras was really, really cool to experience.
I'd like to add on to that by saying I always thought camera rigs were for action movies. So seeing it used in a calm setting was oh, I didn't know that was possible, even though I feel like it'd be common sense, but I don't know. It was really interesting seeing that.
Yeah, so to your point, it's kind of like seeing these different use cases for the different equipment you have. And honestly, by the time you're talking about how technology is progressing now. By the time that you guys are going to be doing it yourselves, we're going to have brand new brand new technology and new things as well. So that's part of the keeping up with the trends and making sure that you're constantly learning. So I would say, you know, given this experience, and we've heard you say you kind of want to pursue additional mentorship or apprentice opportunities. How would you how would you share or recommend this type of experience through CTE with your classmates or your peers?
I would definitely tell my classmates to, if you're given the opportunity, take it because, you know, you never know, you might not be interested in it and then you do it and you're like, that's what I want to do. That's happened so many times for me where it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then I do it for like an hour and I'm like, okay, well, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I think everyone should try it once. And if they don't like it, they don't have to do it again, but you should try it once. And then, you might you might not know where things go for you, but you might like it in the end.
I think for me, I have a lot of friends who share totally different interests, and they're definitely open to experiencing new things. And so when I speak about, oh, I'm going to go do this for photography, they're like, oh, that is really cool. And so I think it's just about getting people excited about doing new things. Um, at our school, we have this thing called WCTV. It's our news channel, and we share a lot of information for people who want to go into more creative aspects. They can definitely do that. And it's just being with people who want to experience new things is the best way that you can share what you want to do. Does that make sense? So yeah.
Absolutely. That totally makes sense. And actually, I'm going to turn that question around to Laura and Camille. What would you recommend, or how can you see these students and students in CTE kind of advocating for these kinds of experiences for their peers, whether that's for videography or if they're in agriculture or, mechatronics? Like, how can they help promote this and get their other students possibly involved in CTE?
I think it's so important for folks to share what they're experiencing, whether it's just in conversation, whether it's through your school's media channels or through social media or other posting opportunities. I think the more that we can promote and explain what career and technical education is, that it's not just one type of job that you can explore, but it's a whole spectrum of careers and pathways. The more that folks will understand that this is really the way that education is going to continue to look in the future, making sure that folks have an opportunity to explore. And like Emma was saying, say if you like it. If you don't, that's great too. Then I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go a different way.
So something that we just had, and I think it was on the same night for all the schools in the district, is called Course Fair. And so it's mostly where us as CTE teachers get to talk about, we each have a table for like our classes, and we get to talk about what we do in our classes. It is for all other electives as well, but that's like our really big night for CTE, to get that word across to students, incoming freshmen, currently eighth graders, to get to see what all is offered at our schools, and really to sell our program. So I think that probably helps us a lot that we get to have that. But like Laura was saying, social media posts, and just kind of getting the word out there to like say like we do this, we do this. And another thing I think probably helps is joining competitions. That way other students at the school can see like, oh, they get to do this, like that's really cool, or they were on KSAT, that's so cool. So just being more involved into other things, not just this opportunity that we had, but being able to do other things as well, just to grow our program. That's what helps us too. So just I don't know, experiencing different things so that other students can be like, oh, like they do this, they do this, they do this. And like how you said, like how Emma said, like if they don't like it, they don't, they only do it one time. Or how you guys also said that they get to experience different things and see what they like and what they don't like. Just
The more we get out there, our course fair nights are one of our biggest nights because we have the eighth grade parents come over and we get to showcase all of our kids and talents. And we try to post as much as we can on social media to get people involved. Yeah, it's the more you talk about it, the more you get it out there, more people you can touch. It helps a lot.
And it sounds like there's a lot of touch points that you already have. And I think one of the coolest things too is seeing, how involved these students today are, and the others who came out, like seeing if they could be part of those fairs, right? And seeing like, this is my experience, this is what I did, and really being those ambassadors. So I love that. And I love the engagement that you guys had. Um, so before we go, we always end every podcast with this question. And I'm going to let everybody answer it because I'm kind of curious to see what everyone has to say. If you could wave a magic wand, what's one thing you would fix in education?
I'm gonna start with teacher pay. That's what I would start with. But not just that. Enforcing more classes that actually help students with life, business classes. So where I'm from, I had to take business information management. So I learned Excel, PowerPoint, and all the Microsoft Office. I think that's really important. So that's one thing that I would change is enforcing the students that they have to take business classes. So that way they know what a business is, how to run a business, but also like how to type, how to use the simple programs, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, like the actual programs, not just on Google Sheets or, because it's different. But Excel, like these students, they don't know how to use Excel. So, and that's maybe you're not going to use Excel for everything, but it's a really good thing, important thing to learn how to do.
I think for me, it would be not necessarily taking a huge step back from those core subjects, but helping kids find more what they could do later on in life. I feel like high school and is a point where you're just trying to hammer out the math, the English, the language, but also maybe try to find what you want to do in life. And I like that these CTE programs are helping to start do that. But we also need building blocks on what people are going to do with their life. And, I have a ton of friends who are in college right now and they don't know what to do or what they're going to major in. And I feel like high school should be kind of the start point for that, which I really would like to see happen.
I agree with Camilla on the pay. That helps a lot too. Yeah, when CT started, when it first came out in the 2000s, I was a manager at CEV Multimedia. So we did a lot of videos on the 16 career clusters. And most of those were based on when kids were in juniors in high school, what their favorite core class was. It was what they were most successful in life as far as job turnover, job satisfaction. So right now we're asking eighth graders to pick what they want to do with these pathways. I think the first couple of years they should have more options going photography, architect, whatever, and find how they really like it instead of forcing them 4 years. Yeah, 4 years to just do photography or videos when they can be out doing animations. And, they still want to do choir, football, all of that. It's kind of hard for them to get into now. So a lot of them take summer school just so they can put our classes in.
Yeah, I would definitely like to add on to the summer school thing because I've taken summer school so I can fit in classes, and I'm gonna take summer school this year so I can fit in classes. And like when I was in middle school, it was like only two options for CTE course. It was either computer science or business. And I chose both of them actually because I could. But I ended up not liking any of them. And then when I got to high school, there was like five. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll choose three I can do because I took summer school. But yeah, I definitely think that we need to let kids starting in middle school know all their options because there's so many options truly, but none of the I wouldn't say none of them, but we don't really know about it till it's too late. I didn't know of so many classes till I'm a junior. Like I wish I could have taken real estate. I wish I could have taken more business management like Miss Donnelly said or entrepreneurship because I think like outside when I graduate and I use this like photography I will need to know how to start a business and how to run a business. And honestly, a lot of people are starting their own businesses now. They're not just like joining into a business. So I think that's a lot of things that kids need to learn. And like we'll have like kids who want to go to school for art and they're doing physics because they just need the credit. Like I feel like you should be doing a class that you need to do for what you want to graduate with, if that makes sense. And I mean, we're kind of just, we don't know that because no one tells us about that. So I think that's what I want to change is knowing that we can do things when we're younger.
I'm loving these answers so far. So I would absolutely echo the uh, desire to have better funded programs across the board, whether that's teacher salary, equipment availability, facilities, and access to them for everyone. I would also advocate for more options for students to enroll in career and technical education programs. I know when I was going through high school, my where I grew up, we're a sending school district, so we had one career tech center, and if you wanted to take a class, you had to have 2 class periods free so that you could take the bus and go to the career tech center. And that meant that I couldn't do that because I was enrolled in other academic programs. I thankfully had the opportunity to work in that career tech center in my first role out of college and got my eyes opened to all the great things that career and technical education is and can do for folks. So, yeah, I would love to just see options become more accessible to everyone, whether it's middle school, high school, or adult learners.
Yeah, I would echo that access, increase access. I think when I think back to it, and I say that knowing that access has increased a lot since I was in high school, and I think back to when I was in high school, like the opportunities y'all have now, it's really incredible. I know when I was younger, I would have loved to explore auto mechanics, health science, right? I think what CTE is doing right now is really opening opportunities for students to explore and really find out what they're passionate about.
Can I add on to something that Miss Morris said? So I don't know if it's like that in every state. So what Miss Morris was saying about how they have to take 4 years of photography or whatever, and that's I don't know if that's a Texas thing or that's everywhere, but here we have like that endorsement. So they get a little asterisk on their report card at the end, like it says they completed 4 years of this. But like what everybody was saying, giving the students more options to take this, take photography, take health science classes is because if they're stuck in 4 years like doing the same thing, they're not going to be able to experience all the other things to see like if they want to do that or if not. But we're trying to enforce like, okay, they have to take 4 years for this because they have to, and they don't they that I feel like that kind of is goes against them a little bit because what high schooler is gonna know, like, okay, I'm in, or what eighth grader, if that, like, is gonna know, okay, in when I'm 20, whatever, I want to be a photographer, I want to do this. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do until, after I graduated high school. And that's because, well, I had to pick what I wanted to do for college. But in eighth grade, you were to ask me what did I want to do? I couldn't answer that question. And we're trying to ask students, in middle school, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? When they haven't had that chance to experience health science or architecture and auto mechanics. They don't get to experience that until high school, and they're not going to know when they're in middle school, I want to do this. So kind of having like them do 4 years of this and that, I feel like maybe that's something that could change too.
And that brings up a good point. I think everyone here has really echoed, increased access and information so that the students feel empowered in high school and middle school. But I think what we've seen a lot of states starting to do too is even starting earlier, elementary school, and saying, here are some, like, just some exploratory options, right? So that they can start to whittle down and have a better idea come middle school when they get that question in eighth grade. What do you think? Well, I've kind of checked these out and maybe these aren't for me, but now I have a little bit clearer view. Doesn't mean they're going to know what they want to be forever, but it has given them the opportunity to start that exploration. So I totally agree. Increased access and increased ability to start exploring at an even earlier age. So loved your answers, and I definitely think that CTE is on the right track and on the right path, the right pathway, to that end. I want to thank you guys so much for joining and for your work on the day and the days prior with Michael. And we're so excited to see the final edit. Can't wait to see what you guys do and what you are going to do after graduation, and we are honored to have been part of this experience. So, thank you for listening to Productive Disruption. We will include in our show notes some more information about the project and the students and ACTE as well. Thanks for having us. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.